What's interesting about folk art is that a lot of people will look at it initially and say, well, that looks like a child might have done it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because a lot of children's art is so pure, and when you look at it, you just gravitate toward it, and you might see it on one level. It's an emotional level, and you just get it.
If you look at some of the themes that folk artists have, especially in our collection here, we have a strong natural world theme. Stevenson, with his sculptures of prehistoric animals and the use of fossils and shells and those types of environmental things that he found in nature. Raymond Cohen's, with his use of the sculptures from huge pieces of wood, the cedar, the stone sculptures that he does. So one theme is that natural world theme that plays a big part in a lot of folk artists.
Well, I'm going home to
Another idea is the message that is given through what we might call the visionary artist. And the visionary artist, usually that person who has a strong religious or political belief that he or she is trying to get across through an intense passion for that particular belief.
I always think that the analogy is between a trained minister who's been to seminary and understands Greek and Latin and Hebrew, and a street preacher on the corner with his Bible, and he's yelling out whatever message he has. It's important to him and he needs to get it out. But when I see a piece of folk art, I tend to think of it as that street preacher, as opposed to seeing Michelangelo or something like that and thinking that that's the seminarian that's had all of the formal training and understands perspective and color and how to mix his paints. Folk artists tend not to know all of that. It's just a more personal statement by someone who has no motivation generally other than to create something.
I've always been interested in art. Even back in school, in the 4th grade, we had an art class. That was my favorite class. When I first wanted to begin painting, I couldn't find a store that sold art supplies. So I wound up ordering them from Sears and Roebuck catalog. I like to paint what I know. And that was, I grew up here on the farm, and that was mostly farm scenes, and like shucking corn and picking cotton, that sort of thing. And I like old buildings.
Alan and I have collected Southern contemporary folk art, meaning that this is work that's produced in the South. I think our strength is North Carolina, but we have traveled the South looking for this work. It's part of the texture and tradition of a place. We've always been drawn to that aspect, to find things that are unique and individual to a particular place, and then to connect them, if you're lucky, with people who have ways of expressing that sense of place. I do believe that folk art is a great place for children to start seeing art. Some of the best responses to this art, the truest, most understanding responses to it, come from children. And it's a starting place. As important as it is, I think, for children to be exposed to it, it's no less important for adults.
It's almost a trip in history and Southern culture as it is a trip to see art.